2, a 1. We are live. It's Filmaholics episode 9. Woo! Fap.
The
Yes,
big
Kenny.
9.
Yes, Kenny. So this is well, actually, how about this? We'll start it off like this. Welcome to FAP. Like I said, episode 9. We are on Spotify, on YouTube, on Filmaholics Entertainment Podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of being with the Mr. Alex Vu.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. And then today you will notice that Brad is no longer, or is not here this week. That is not Brad below us. That is Mr. Kenny. Kenny, welcome to the show. Welcome to your first episode, and now you are part of the FEP Nation, the FAPiverse. Is there anything else we've been calling it? The
I love to FAP.
The entourage.
Yeah, you're part of the entourage, man. Hey, welcome. So cool.
Long time listener, first time caller.
Yep. You called in. Yeah, no, you joined. Well, I mean, today's gonna be kind of a special episode. So we're gonna try to go through a few things, but the main kind of special episode about this is that it's gonna be going through our top 10 things that James Gunn's DCU needs to be successful. So I know with the writer's strike, we've had a lot of talk about this writer's strike. I think what would be kind of fun if we did something kind of off kilter from the normal news and articles we go through usually. So this actually first week of Kenny joining us, and hopefully Kenny can join us next week as we are actually going to be previewing the fall TV lineup. So so far it started off hot with Ahsoka, and maybe we might give a quick review of that at the end here. But before we dive into everything, I just want to give you guys kind of a quick background and just Kenny and why he is a fan of the movies. I mean, Kenny, what are some of your favorite movies, and or what kind of genres are some of your favorite movies?
Wow. I wasn't prepared to answer that. But I mean, my favorite movie is, like, for different reasons, Tron Legacy is my favorite movie for any visual effects.
Love that. Yeah.
I know the story of it isn't the best, but I look beyond that because the visual effects of that were ahead of its time, and the de-aging technology that they used in Tron Legacy in 2010 is what led to like how it all looks so good now. Like in 2010, it didn't look that great then, but it was the baby steps, you know. So Tron Legacy is also a big reason why I do animation and visual effects. So Tron Legacy is my favorite for that reason. Story-wise and acting and everything else, Jojo Rabbit.
Yes.
I've watched that movie.
That's a movie Vu has not seen, and you're probably not surprised.
Vu!
That,
oh my God, I make everyone watch it.
Is that the Quentin Tarantino movie?
No, it's Taika
Waititi.
Oh, yeah.
I recommended to these guys kind of a month ago. So I'm creating a list. I probably should actually have a list like in our notes of our group chat that goes through movies that Vu hasn't seen and nor have Brad seen. And yes, Jojo Rabbit.
This is gonna be never ending.
Yeah.
Okay. Before
when you told me he was on this podcast, I was like, why?
I'm the average Joe.
Yep, easy. So how we do is we have kind of like the comic geek nerd, which is kind of Brad, I would say. He's more. He doesn't watch all the movies, but he's big into comics, so we kind of add value to movies like this. And then Vu is the common man, essentially coming from the perspective of someone who just wants to maybe learn about movies, why they're maybe watching this podcast, I would say. Yeah, that's Vu.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
All right, before we get into it though, Kenny, have you seen Interstellar?
I think so.
Matthew McConaughey.
Like 90. Yeah. And then they're like in the like bookshelf at one point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've seen it. I haven't. It's been a minute, but like I know it's like really good and stuff. Again, another visual effect. Fun fact of that is like the black hole they used to generate the visual effects they used to generate the black hole in that movie. That was like they built this whole rendering thing just for that. Like,
dude,
there's nothing. It doesn't replicate. Nothing can replicate that. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, the secrets behind the movie. I like this. A little behind the scenes action.
Honestly, I barely remember like what actually happened in the movie because I didn't watch it in theaters. I just watched it. It was on like FX, I think, is when the only time I ever actually watched it. But like, I know it's good and long and deep. And the music. I know the music is really good in that movie too, right?
Hans Zimmer. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
It's one of his best. Vu hasn't seen it yet, so that's another one on the list. But I told him by next week he needs to watch it and give it a review.
Yep.
So
that's my homework assignment for the next.
I would like to watch that again, like properly, like actually.
Yes.
It's on Prime.
Honestly, I don't think I watched the beginning of it, to be honest.
Oh, there you go. You need to check it out. It'll be a new experience for you. I'm a fucking loser. And I just first swear word of the podcast 5 minutes in. So that's good. Usually we'll have like kind of, so some episodes, Kenny too, is we'll have like beers on here. This one I'm completely sober because I have to do a mountain hike this weekend. So not trying to dox where I'm at right now to the film. Yeah. So and then if you want to give a little background on me, man, you're looking at my 3 favorite movies right there: Star Wars, Logan, and Dark Knight. So those are my top 3. And then Across the Spider-Verse for me is my favorite movie of the year so far, and that's on the other wall over there.
Do you have a poster for it, Kev?
I do. Yep.
Oh,
yeah. These posters new. I've been in this room before.
Yep. Brand new. Lindsay's officially let me make this like my man cave.
Wow.
Yep. And it's for the podcast.
The guests won't care.
Yeah, the guests won't give a shit. Hell, hopefully they compliment. I always ask people too.
Next time I'm over, I will compliment.
Yeah, baby. Come on. You guys are living in a museum or staying in a museum when you visit me. But all right. Well, then let's jump into everything, gentlemen. Today is the first thing is we're going to discuss and this is something we've talked about a lot on this podcast, never really given kind of a deep dive into what we think it needs to be successful. The DCU, the James Gunn DCU, something that was announced back in, I think it was January of this year is when it was finally announced that James Gunn is taking over essentially from the Zack Snyder universe, the DCEU. Just to give everybody a background here. And he came in kind of hot. He decided to say, you know what, I'm going to make a new Superman movie that's going to lead into the new universe for DC called Superman Legacy. I think it's still released for 2025. Might have been pushed for 2026 due to the writer's strike. I'm not 100% sure on that. But with that, we now have a new universe for DC. And the big thing is that DC has not been successful since probably, well, depending who you ask, but I would say when it comes monetarily and to Rotten Tomatoes, maybe the critics, since The Dark Knight Rises. So, I guess what we're trying to do with today's episode is essentially run through what we think, or what John Campy, I'm a big listener of his, and he created a list of his top 10 things that James Gunn needs to do just to be successful for this new universe. So I think we just run through the top 10 of what we think, just the list itself, run through the top 10, add a little quips, I'll add a little stories. I'm going to ask you guys throughout kind of your thoughts. And you know what? Hopefully we can say to our sources go. And also, Kenny, by the way, I have sources. I don't know if I told you this, that we've announced actually a couple of things on here.
Yeah.
We announced the casting of Superman Legacy before it came out. So
amazing.
That was our big
per inside
That's
sources.
real.
Yep.
The casting being just like Clark and Lois.
Yep,
that's all that's been revealed there. Yeah.
Exactly. I kind of just had a couple of people who were whispering in my ear who they thought it would be. So, whatever.
Kevin was working the phones.
I was right. I'm not just a salesman, damn it. So, all right. So, then we'll jump in this. And if I'm trying to think of we should probably put this on the screen. So, let me I'll put this down here. This is great for the podcast. Mm-hmm. Actually, I fucked up there. There we go.
Second swear word.
I know, second swear word. We're adults here. Hey Vu, could you post that again here into this?
Yes. Oh, you wanted to move it, I see.
For some reason I lost it. I'm gonna create a sheet down here just so nobody sees the secrets behind us.
Oh, did I accidentally delete it?
Yeah, I might have accidentally deleted it.
Oh,
and this is good radio right here. Okay, perfect. Thanks, man.
Yep.
Copy, and we'll put it up, paste into it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will share my screen, and we'll dive into the main event for today. Present, share screen, Filmaholics, Google Docs. You guys get a little bit of background into everything, just to show you all around the world. Yes, we mean around the world, international, baby. That we have a Google sheet essentially we follow. So we'll put a little plot. I really don't know how to do it on this, but whatever. We'll dive into this. We'll talk about it, and the people will understand. So I think the first thing that when it comes to the list here, should we start with 10 or should we start with 1? What do you guys think would be the best way to do it?
1.
Just go through 1 through 10?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing that he brings up for the new DCU is the idea of finding the right balance of dark and light tones. Now, I think we can all agree that the most successful movies, not only just in the DC, but also in Marvel, and I think we're going to do probably a lot of comparing to Marvel in this just because they've had a lot of success. And again, I think you want to follow kind of like, I guess, follow their model, but not exactly copy and paste it. Kind of go for things that were successful and make sure, make it better, I would say. So you look at movies like, Thor Ragnarok, completely perfect movie that I think gives a great balance of balance and tone of light and dark. What are other, I guess, Marvel or just superhero movies you guys can think of that were good that had that light and dark tones? It doesn't even have to be Marvel or DCU. Hell, even Kick-Ass, I think, might be a good representation of what a good movie might be when it comes to that light and dark tone.
This goes without saying, but obviously the entire Guardians trilogy.
Yep.
That hit. I mean, and it's James Gunn. That's what I was going to say once we get there. Like, I have zero concern that the new DCU or Superman Legacy in itself won't have the right balance because he just knows what he's doing. Like, they're the funniest. They are the funniest. The Guardians movies are the funniest Marvel movies without a doubt, and they're also like they hit the hardest, I think, of the entire MCU. So James Gunn, he knows what he's doing with that. I was gonna actually counter Ragnarok though. As much as I love Ragnarok, it's actually like my top 5 favorite Marvel movies. That movie, I felt like it didn't. The stakes didn't feel high enough.
No,
on that one. Thor, he didn't. I get now. It was a visual thing too. How there was like zero blood in it, which I wonder if it's a Disney thing or not. But like Thor getting whooped by Hulk and Hela every moment that he did, like he didn't actually feel like he was getting hurt. So I get that he's a god and stuff, but I'm sidetracking.
And you would probably
love
agree
that movie so much. But
yeah. Oh, love Thor Ragnarok. And you'd probably agree with Thor Ragnarok. Looking back at it, I mean, it had to lead into Infinity War. So we kind of knew they weren't going to take out, the Hulk. I mean, I guess there were some stakes in the sense was Loki wasn't killed, but I guess their father was killed in that one. No, I know what you mean. And I guess another thing I think when it brings back to the Dark Knight, who I'd like for you to add to this as well, is that I think what the DCU did as a problem was they were trying to create a Dark Knight type universe for the DC universe. I feel like a lot of people complain about Man of Steel as being too boring, too dark. Not enough. I don't know. Maybe Marvelisms to it because they're trying to. It seems like they're just trying to copy what Christopher Nolan was going to do, and I feel like Zack Snyder was just such a different director compared to Christopher Nolan. It seemed like he was trying to copy it instead of trying to make something new and original for the new DCU. But what else would you have to add to this as well, Vu?
Yeah, I guess with a balance of dark and light tones, the Dark Knight trilogy I thought was great for that. It is a little darker, but I thought Snyder's universe was too dark almost.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I think one of the problems that they had is that they were creating this dark universe, and people weren't trying to go to the theater to feel like sad after. Batman versus Superman was not a happy film. I think doesn't Superman die at the end of it, and and then of course he's brought back. But the idea is that they didn't really follow this plan, and they started trying to switch the tones throughout. I mean, Aquaman was really funny and to me, I think that was a really good balance of tone. But at the same time, it didn't really follow any of the movies leading up to it. So, to me personally, I just think that this is something where Kenny did a great job of explaining it. You got James Gunn, the king of probably dark and light. He can give you the heavy with the light. So I think this is one they're not going to have to worry too much about, but I think is very much a good point to bring out with the universe to be successful. It needs something like this. Any last thoughts before we dive into number 2?
I agree with Aquaman. Aquaman, people didn't like it for whatever reason. I loved Aquaman.
I loved it.
It was amazing. And then the new trailer for Lost Kingdom looks amazing.
Doesn't it look awesome?
Like, how do they top like that big sea war that was in the first one? How do you top that? And there already seems like they're topping it. The visual effects in Aquaman look amazing. So
you should have been on last episode, Kenny. We literally watched
it live.
And we watched it live on this. I don't even know. I might get monetized, like demonetized for that, even though we're not getting monetization. But yeah, that was fun. I completely agree with you. I'm excited. Everyone keeps talking about how it's not going to be a good movie, and I'm thinking to myself, own up to it. James Gunn has not brought anything up, but hey, that's neither here nor there for that.
Also, James Wan has already gone on the record and said that this movie has nothing to do with any other DC movie. It is a fully standalone movie, other than Aquaman 1. So.
And I like that because that's one of the topics in this plan here. And I guess right here, we're looking at this. Number 2, stick to the plan or commit to change when needed. And I think when he brought up this was the idea. What we just brought up is that, DC was very much dark. Then they made a ton of, changes. I mean, gosh, they changed directors for Superman or for the Justice League. We saw a good version of it, I would say, in 2020 with the Zack Snyder Justice League. But of course, that was unforeseen circumstances, with his family, and that's why he had to drop off. But Ryan Johnson just didn't put out a good movie. And I feel Joss Whedon. Sorry, you're right. Ryan Johnson is for Star Wars. So to me, I just think that they need to stick to the idea of I think, and they've started the creation of a new plan. They've created, I think it's Superman Legacy. We've got, I think, the Batman and Robin movie that's also going to be coming out. Kenny and Vu, do you guys? And Vu, we did go through the list itself of what's coming out, but were there any of them that you're kind of excited about, or do you have anything to add when it comes to just sticking to the plan for the DCU?
Yeah, I guess which ones are coming out for the DCU? I guess I don't even remember what movies are slated for this.
It's like Swamp Thing. They're doing a TV show on HBO Max about
Creature Commandos.
Wonder Woman, Creature Commandos. It's actually going to be technically the first movie, or the first, I think, property that's coming under the James Gunn universe. There's a lot. He announced it back in January, and of course, things might change. I mean, look at Disney; they've changed everything since 2015. It seems like whenever they have a plan. But I think that's just one thing that will differentiate themselves. And I think what the point of what he's trying to say here is that, stick to the idea of Batman, is going to be one of the, key guys in going forward, or Superman isn't going to, if he dies, keep him dead. Things like that, I feel like is what they're trying to say. It seemed like there was a lot of reactionary changes to Warner Brothers execs trying to say, hey, we're not enough like Marvel. Or the fans freaking out and going crazy about things for Batman versus Superman. I feel like that's kind of what he's discussing there. Sorry if I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here. I'm just trying to explain. Kenny, what do you have to add to that as well? Or do you have anything?
Yeah, I'm just probably going to sound like a huge James Gunn fan. I mean, I am saying this. But again, no,
that's why you're here.
Because just like in the MCU, James, he only did Guardians. He was a producer on Infinity War and Endgame. But Guardians was entirely his vision. It was everything he wanted from start to finish. And Guardians 3, before his whole firing thing, Guardians 3 was supposed to come out before Infinity War and Endgame, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe before Endgame, I think. So Gamora, obviously, being dead wasn't supposed to, wouldn't have happened in that wouldn't have been a thing in Guardians 3 had everything had it come out originally like it did. And so he knows how to adapt when he needs to, and he still was able to tell a really good story with it in Guardians 3. So that's just one example of him being able to adapt when needed.
I didn't even know that it was supposed to come out before those movies.
Yeah, I'm forgetting. I'm actually. When was the Guardians?
So have you guys seen Peacemaker or no by James Gunn?
Yes, love that.
Great show.
The one with John Cena.
Yes, that's why it's so good. That? Yes, that was the most successful DC property. It has like a 99% Rotten Tomato score. Because it was, and that's essentially the reason why DC gave him. And also Suicide Squad was really good too. Yeah, they gave him the keys after that.
They were turn this D-list character, F-list character. Honestly, use this, and if you can make him successful, we'll give you the keys, the whole thing. And then he did. It's amazing. So
he did probably better than they ever expected, and they would have accepted even a B. They would have accepted a B out of it. But man, Boo, it is such a dramatic / a comedic, light, but also extremely. See, that's what you need to see, Vu, when it comes to what the DCU should be like going forward. Is that show? It does such a great job of doing that. And he was given not the best budget either, and not even the best story line to go with, but he made it work.
How was John Cena in it? I can't take him seriously as an actor.
Oh, he was so good.
So
watching Fast X last night, I was like, geez, this guy.
I watched Fast X on the plane back from London. I can chat about it. I mean, watched. I skipped forward through everything I didn't want to watch.
You guys watched it in the worst experience. I watched it in theaters. I told Vu this. The guys next to me were cheering and jumping in the air for every scene. I had the best theater, so I had a really good time with it. And it was in June, and so my whole like excitement for movies for the summer was there. Plus, I have A-list, so I don't have to pay for it. It's all part of the plan. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't hate it. I think I would hate watching it right now. Like rewatch it. I'll never rewatch it. Ever. Like I swear to God, I promise you guys on my grave.
Not even before the parts 2 and 3.
Nah, I get it. I get what's going on. It's not even racing at this point. It's
but it had more racing in this one than any of the last
3. I think it was 3 or 4. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
They actually had some, and Ratcatcher in it, her being a racer, it actually was Ratcatcher from Suicide Squad.
Yes. Oh, I loved her.
It's like she was great as a racer, and we're sidetracking. But I actually, as much of it, I probably only watched a third of it. But like the racing bits, it felt like this is what
the racing bits felt like it was like the old
back
movies.
Towards the racing.
Yeah, it felt like I was back with Paul Walker.
Yeah, man. R.I.P. Pouring out for Paul. We used to do that in college. We'd be drunk and be like, pour one for Paul, and just pour beer on somebody's floor. All right, cool. Let's bring it back together here. We're gonna go to number 3. Have a clear vision with directors before filming starts. So I know what they're saying with this one, and what they're trying to say is essentially before what does he call it? Not version 4, but what's the new
Phase 4?
Phase 4, thank you. Before Phase 4, Kevin Feige used to sit down every director of upcoming Marvel movies, and essentially that's what the number 2 is. They would also create a plan saying this is what's going to happen. Besides the James Gunn one, because James Gunn had bad tweets from 2009, so they had to switch that up. But they had a plan, essentially a succinct plan between this movie here is going to lead into this movie, which will lead into this movie, which is going to, at the end of the day, lead to this overarching, essentially the pyramid at the top. It's going to all lead to there. And he had all the directors lined up, essentially saying, if I created this story, it means it's going to still be connected to this story that's coming out behind it. Am I making sense here?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what they're trying to say here, and that's one thing that changed with Phase 4, is that because there was so much substance, not enough. What's the term? Too much substance, not enough. My brain's slow.
They were doing quantity over quality.
Quantity over quality. Thank you so much, Kenny. So with that, I think that one thing the DCU can learn, and now the reason one of the big failures of Marvel right now is the idea that you need to have a plan and create good stories. It's not about just creating, stories for people, to create confusion, just trying to get, names out there and trying to make money and create this universe too fast. Create a good story, and I think what will come, you'll have success for other characters going forward. As well as have directors who I think, and maybe they're not talking about this with this one, but I think they got to have some pretty damn good directors. And you're starting off hot with James Gunn, but hopefully they find some directors that are, pretty decent going forward. I mean, you'd say, looking back at the DCEU, what were some of your guys' favorite directors? I know probably Kenny, for you, is probably James Wan was one of them.
Even aside from DC stuff, I love James Wan. I love all of I forget if it's either Conjuring or Insidious. It's Conjuring.
Conjuring.
Okay. Well, then but then Insidious. Well, then it's Blumhouse Production. Whatever.
Did he maybe do Insidious?
He maybe was a producer on it. I was just talking about this because it's funny that Patrick Wilson stars in both of them, and then I was mixing up the director producers stuff like that.
Yep.
I mean,
it'd be
not important, but
it'd be helpful for the directors to watch other films too.
Yep. Yeah. Oh my God. With what was the damn one we were just on?
WandaVision and Doctor Strange. It'd be a little helpful.
Yeah. It would have been nice to create.
What happened?
Oh, Vu, you want to tell them what happened?
No, I wasn't listening. Yeah, say it.
The director of, what was it, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness.
So Sam Raimi.
Oh, yeah. Sam Raimi. He didn't watch WandaVision,
Yeah.
I remember that, okay.
Yeah, so you would think that would have added a little bit of difference to things. I feel like also they didn't really have a plan. You look at something like, and this is one that's directly correlated to Marvel, because we're seeing it unfold right now, the kind of the failure of everything. It just seems like there's nothing that seems coherent and succinct. And of course, they're kind of their own stories. But at the same time, we're all still wondering, why is there an arm or half of a head coming out of the Atlantic Ocean because of the Eternals? And yet there's been nothing brought up about it.
The Eternals has never been brought up in another film, right?
Exactly. No, none.
Yeah.
They've alluded to it, I think, in the most recent TV show. Secret Invasion, but it hasn't
Yeah,
been.
like it's always in like news headlines, but it's never like actually discussed. Popping back to this, James Wan did direct both, not everyone, but some of the Insidious and Conjuring.
Did he?
So he does all of it. He produced every
shit.
single one of them and all the spin-offs, like Annabelle and The Nun and stuff. But he directed. Yeah, that's why Patrick Wilson's in both of them too, because he did both of them.
Shit, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a very good point. So how about this? Just kind of going, and we've pretty much said everything we need to say about that one. I think I went through it, but what are some directors you guys think would be really good for the DCU? I mean, do you have any directors you'd like to see kind of show up? I think the number one, and I doubt this would happen in any world because Warner Brothers and him are no longer friends and no longer connected. The Christopher Nolan Superman movie to me would be that's how you kick off, and of course it's gonna be James Gunn, but and they're tonally just so different, but. For me, that'd be one of mine. Maybe Denis in a way. Now, again, no guarantee that they could even do this. And looking at the Marvel and what Marvel did in the past, they usually signed up-and-coming directors. Are there some directors you guys would like to see kind of help guide into this new DCU?
I hope he's not above it now because Joseph Kosinski, director of Tron Legacy, my favorite movie, as I said, he has come up so far because he directed Top Gun Maverick. Which I did.
No shit.
But I know that everyone loves it. Like he's just an amazing director, and aside from like storytelling, like his movies visually look amazing. And I am just seeing this now. He also directed Spiderhead, which was this movie with Miles Teller and Chris Hemsworth. And Zazie Beetz. Like I didn't watch it, but I wanted to. But like I thought it looked really good to me, but I didn't.
It's a step down for sure. It's a step down from Top Gun, yeah, for sure to me at least. Kaczynski makes me think of Krasinski. I want John Krasinski.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would love to have him. He did a great job in The Quiet Place. I think they're always talking about how they wanted him in, what's it called? In Fantastic Four, but luckily he hasn't.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think he's got a little bit of time. He's a little open, and clearly he's shown that he's an Oscar-nominated potential director. So, hey, sign him up for me. What about you, Vu? You got anybody you like?
I guess I don't have like a go-to director. I just hope the films are good,
Yeah.
That's my stance on it.
And it goes so much above directors, it's the script and everything else. There's so much that goes into it. And then at the end of the day, a director is just like a quarterback. They get all the blame for everything, but then they also get all the praise for everything.
Yep.
When things go well and when things don't. Like
so
at the end of the day, like sure they make a lot of the decisions, but there's so much more than just the one face.
Yep. I agree, man. I agree. Going to number 5, tell personal stories. So this one, I wish we had Brad on here because he's such a big comic guy here. He has a lot of background into it. But some of the stories that I would like to see, I mean, it doesn't always have to be such a big at the end of the world, end of world with, having to have dark side and things like that. It could just be Superman, bringing it back to the basics, doing a 1960s Superman story. Or, I love that they're, sorry.
Is Darkseid like their Thanos? Is that the equivalent?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure it is, yeah.
And would you say Thanos is probably like the biggest threat in the Marvel universe?
It is, or DC, yes. It is definitely the biggest threat. Same with, and we went through the top villains one episode. I would say he is, but you also got to think about this. The best villains are in DC. You've got the Joker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You've got Lex Luthor. We don't have to have, of course we can have a billionaire version of Lex Luthor, but we don't need to have him, again, bringing in Apocalypse right away. Mm-hmm. It could be him just trying to stop, maybe bringing it back to something like a 2006 version of Superman. I think it was called Superman Returns or something like that. Mm-hmm. A little more in a better way, of course. Hopefully, but again, that was more of a boots to the grounded kind of a story. And I think that's something where I would like to do myself. I mean, I would like myself, and they're also doing something for the Green Lantern. They're doing a True Detective style Green Lantern TV show with Hal Jordan and gosh, who is the other one?
Guy Gardner.
Thank you so much, Kenny. And
which I think is interesting because
I
feel like people would much rather watch Guy Gardner and not Guy Gardner, Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart.
Yes, right.
Those two together.
I completely agree with you.
That was even I forget if it was an animated. If that's what Emerald Knights was about, or if that's something else, but like those two, the duo, is what would be cool. Mm-hmm. I feel like.
Do you have any stories you'd like to see, Kenny?
I don't know. I don't actually know. I mean, I don't know much of like the comics, but I've watched every animated thing from DC, and DC has never missed with their animated movies and TV shows.
It's the best thing they put out sometimes. Yeah.
They're literally the opposite of Marvel, because all of Marvel's TV shows, except for the Amazing Spider-Man show, animated
from the 90s.
I forget if that one. I forget if that's then. No, not the
early
old
2000s.
one. No, like was it the one like it was on the Disney Channel? I forget if.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Was. He had a cameo in Across the Spider-Verse, I think.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's a good one for sure. Yeah, I mean, again, telling personal stories. Vu, do you have any stories you would recommend? Again, this is more of a Brad one. He knows so much. I mean, I would relate it back to bring the stories that they had in like Batman Beyond and things like that. Not directly, but also we can look at things like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. You know what I mean? The one thing that's great about these superhero movies is that the stories and the characters behind them were better to me than the superhero itself. It was the person behind the mask. So I think you got to do things like that, I guess. Bring it in the family.
If they're going to make like Lex Luthor or the Joker like the bad guy for the whole universe, though, like maybe not do a solo film is my ask. Because I feel like we've already seen so many solo films of Lex Luthor and the Joker. You know,
I know what you mean.
I mean, they could definitely be introduced there.
Yeah.
But not to be set up as like... I hate when movies set up like a villain for a later thing, but they make it seem like that's plot A. And then at the end of the movie, plot B and C are fixed or resolved, but plot A, it wasn't, and you thought that was the main thing in the movie. So like... I don't think they will do that, but that's like something they definitely need to avoid.
How do you guys think about this? Would you like to see a Superman movie? And we've seen this in the past, but someone who's just is not being kind of like a monster in a world of human beings, being a god, having to deal with that. And I think that was some of my favorite parts of Man of Steel was him being younger and like, being so different. The kryptonite side of things, why that affects him maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit. Again, I think they do this in like Smallville, and they do it in like I think the show.
Did you watch Smallville?
Never did.
Oh my God, Smallville was amazing. All 10 seasons. I mean,
it was good.
They're not all amazing, but like as just
so
like,
would you
like
something like that?
Absolutely. Smallville was amazing, and I loved that the whole show. And Tom Welling made it a point he didn't want to wear the suit. That's not the point of the show. Even though it's ridiculous that they would introduce a character like Darkseid into this when he's not even Superman yet. Anyway, but like the Smallville was amazing. It touched on his like just him actually living life as an alien on Earth, and like his relationships with people.
The Superman suit,
no.
Like
it's,
all 10 seasons.
At the last episode, the suit is shown, but you don't see him wearing it.
Gotcha. Okay.
But the whole series, he's wearing like he changes between two outfits: a blue shirt with a red jacket, or a red shirt with a blue jacket. That's all. 10 seasons of the show. That's all he wears, except for when he's evil. When he like he has red kryptonite and he goes evil, and he wears like black. But like,
does he ever have an S? Does he ever have like an S like on his backpack, being like, "Oh, I'm a big fan of this backpack brand"?
I don't remember. It was so long ago. But like that one small detail that I just said is like that they touched on in that show was like the different kryptonites. Like, that show touched on like black, red, green. Was there even a blue? I don't remember honestly, but like, and it was a recurring thing. Like these things matter in his storyline. And
I didn't even know there were different types of kryptonite.
Different kryptonites do different things to you. The green kryptonite just like makes you weak. The red kryptonite makes you like angry.
Interesting.
It's like so when he had this like red kryptonite ring on, and he just like left. It was in between seasons, so it was like his summer away. He was like just doing crime and stuff in Metropolis.
See,
like,
these are the stories.
This is what we need.
Yes, this is what I like. This a lot.
It's just really fun. You guys should watch it. It's a heavy lift of a watch, and I know you're not going to.
I'm watching Sopranos right now. And I'm going through the heavy lift.
Smallville was so good. Tom Welling's was so good, but there's also this character who in it. Forget her name, but she like ended up being the leader of like this sex cult. So
yes, I watched the documentary about her. Yeah, that was interesting.
It's great in the show, and so was
like
so
a sex cult in the show, or a sex cult
in real life?
No, in real life. In real life.
Just like 6 or so years ago, it came out that she was like the ringleader of it, and She's like in jail now, I think.
It was like a Hollywood one. It was something Hollywood related.
Pretty kooky.
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
The fans are reacting right now to Kenny. They're saying we want more Kenny. We want more Kenny going forward. We will keep inviting him. I think he's got an invite whenever. This is great insight, Kenny. I appreciate you knowing so much, man.
Yeah.
Going into this. Hey, we're at number 6, guys. We're at number 6.
Yeah, we're halfway
35
done.
minutes in. Yeah, we're almost there. We almost did it. All right, so we're at have real consequences, and what he puts in here is the Red Wedding. So, and when I listened to what he was saying with the Red Wedding, why? And we've all seen Game of Thrones, correct? Vu, have you seen it?
Yep.
Oh, thank God for this one. Okay.
Finally.
Average Joe has seen it.
Yep. I would say every average Joe has seen it. But you guys remember season 1, Ned Stark gets up getting killed. And I thought to me, he was going to be one of the main guys going forward when that happened. I was like, what? Like, can anybody just get killed? And as we saw in the Red Wedding, there were consequences of the fact that I think there was like 5 main characters that ended up getting killed at that wedding. I mean, it was one of the most impactful episodes on TV. I didn't watch it live, but I heard that it was just crazy how it was received, reactions all around, good and bad. But the idea that it made people feel something. And at the end of the day, because of their deaths, we now knew that anybody could be killed going forward. Mm-hmm. So I think what they're trying to say with this is that when people die, they're actually dead. Or like Superman, when he's dead, actually maybe make him dead. Or when, things happen where I would say the DCU did a good job, and they keep bringing it up, and the flip of 5 years. So now we're always talking about how that was something that happened 5 years ago. People were affected by it. Those are some of my favorite parts of actually like WandaVision, how when she came back and she came back after 5 years, and all these people started coming back after 5 years, and they were like, whoa, what's happening? And the hecticness behind it all. I think that DC did do a good job with this, with a lot of their movies. I feel like, I mean, it seemed like there was no stakes, like you said, Kenny, with a lot of, I think you need stakes and you need to have consequences. And I think that's something will help make this different and more successful than the last iteration. And maybe The Dark Knight did a great job of this as well. Vu, anything to add to this? And then Kenny?
No, yeah, I totally agree. Real consequences. Like in Marvel, they brought back some people, I feel like who's Wanda's boyfriend?
Vision.
Yep, they brought Vision back. Did you guys watch Secret Invasion?
Yep, a little bit.
They brought Gaia back. Thought Gaia was dead.
Yep.
Hopefully that's not a spoiler to our viewers.
I don't think anyone's watching it after anyway. So yeah, I know what you mean. That's a very good point. Kenny, what would you like to add to this, man?
I feel like I agree that there should be consequences, but it's tough when you're specifically doing comic book stuff because these people always come back. There's always a way to come back. But I do think that like with like Man of BVS and then Justice League, like if he does have to die, if he does have to come back, do it for longer than just the next movie that comes out. Like have there be the next few movies in the universe that they deal with his death, or just deal with him like, oh no, he can't just come and save us, because like, it'd be easy for Superman to do that, but like make them live in a world without Superman, and then he can come back later once like these characters have grown and been able to do whatever they need to do without him.
Does he die in the comics a lot?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the number one.
The death of Superman was like a huge line.
It's the number one of all time.
Oh,
that was real. Like in the comics, Doomsday did kill Superman, but then he was gone for a long time.
That's why it was so impactful, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then there was like there's this other movie, this animated movie, I didn't watch it, but it's called The Reign of the Supermen. It's all the different Supermen that came in once Clark was gone. There's like Cyborg Superman, these other Supermen. Like I didn't watch it, but like I'm pretty sure that's what that was about. Like all these different variations, like Steel, if you know who that is, like these different Superman-esque characters coming in to try to fill in these shoes. And that in itself, I mean, that was a movie, but real live action. If and when the time comes that Superman has to die again, that would be a great live action movie.
Yeah,
it seems like there's a lot of content out there for them to run with.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of
exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think it's hard to keep these characters dead. So I'm not saying, I'm not saying if they have to die, keep them dead forever, because the fans don't want that either. But just at least have his death mean something.
Mean something. Yep.
And then have his revival mean something on top of that later. And have it not be within 2 movies back to back. That doesn't. Yep. That's just. That was dumb. And that was even Zack Snyder's plan too. Even like I wouldn't even say that.
That was DC. That was Warner Brothers coming in and being like, we like need Superman and like back in this world. Because the whole you probably know the backstory of it all too. Zack Snyder had a whole plan laid out. Everything got changed. And I think there is like a Reddit post about like people finding his whiteboard with the entire plan.
Yeah, oh my god, it's so cool.
League.
It's amazing. Yeah. It has like sketches of like the designs of some of them,
Yep.
like Cold Nightmares stuff. Like was supposed to be fleshed out way more than it was. It wasn't fleshed out at all. So
I think that was one of the biggest
ways. Potential to be really cool.
One of the biggest ways was bringing in Apocalypse for that Batman vs Superman. They didn't need it. You know what I mean? Like Apocalypse is like the one. It's a Superman killer. It's a Superman killer, and it seemed like he was the villain of the week, almost in that. You know what I mean? We talk about that a lot in this show.
He wasn't because Steppenwolf was the villain of that movie.
Right. You know what I mean? Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Didn't do anything.
It's on the villain of the week. Like it's just the idea of some he was such an impactful character in the comics. I don't know. I think we added a good point there. It's just we're at 40 minutes. I'm trying to not make this. Dude, this always ends up happening. We're not having an hour fucking long episode. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't cut us off. We'll see. All right, here we go. And then don't make the DCU completely Batman centric. I mean, I think we all know, and I think everyone here knows that Batman is maybe the number one, if not number two, most famous superhero out there. I'd say him and like Spider-Man are two of the biggest.
Actually, Spider-Man is either number one or two. The top two are Superman and Spider-Man.
I would say yes, but when it comes to movies, more movies, I would say.
Sure.
What I'm relating to. Superman, that's another thing. Superman, that's why this needs to be emphasized on its number one character, which at the end of the day, since 50s? I'm trying to, even earlier, wasn't Superman the first superhero?
On TV?
No, he wasn't the first superhero.
Like on TV or movies or
like in movies?
Comics? Oh, movies? I don't know.
I went to a thing.
I feel like
about
I doubt that.
I think yeah. I feel like what? Now, whatever. He's the most important, I would say, when it comes to DC. And I think when you have a bad Superman movie leading off the DCEU, that's not going to make people want to go to theaters. You know what I mean?
They need like an Iron Man 1, something to set the tone. You know.
Which is like whack though, because at the time when Iron Man came out, the Avengers and Iron Man were kind of B-list. Like X-Men and Fantastic Four were A-list. That's why they sold those properties away. And then when the time came, Avengers wasn't that popular until the MCU came out. So
it's so true. No, you're right about it. I'd say, I mean, the only A-list guy Spider-Man eventually became a part of the Avengers, but in the comics. But I guess you would look at Hulk, Thor, and Captain America. Those were, I guess, 1A, 1B's type, and then you got Iron Man, who really was a B character, but Robert Downey Jr. changed things. So what are you gonna say about that?
Yep.
But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it was we've had enough Batman. Keep it, let's get good stories from other superheroes. Not always bringing Batman. I mean, I think Batman was almost in every freaking. Ben Affleck played Batman in more movies than any other Batman in the history of Batman. I've said Batman 10 times, but it's the truth. He was in like 5 different movies.
Which one was he in? Wonder Woman.
First scene. He was in Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
He was in.
He was in BVS, Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad,
Justice
Wonder
League,
Woman 2, Justice League,
Flash.
You count Justice League twice.
I guess you could maybe.
You should count it twice because it was two releases. Flash.
Was he in Aquaman?
I
think he was referenced in Aquaman.
Well,
I think
he was definitely referenced.
I don't think he was shown.
Referenced in Blue Beetle.
Oh, was he referenced? I didn't watch Blue Beetle. So.
Oh, good movie. I mean, not the best movie, but fine movie.
But at least if we're going back to Ben Affleck specifically, I think he was in at least 7.
Yeah,
that's crazy for not having like a standalone Batman movie.
Right? Oh my god! Right?
Is that it?
Jeez.
So it's just the truth. I mean, at the end of the day, he's very much and I think in the comics, he's the reason why. I think Superman's the reason why the Justice League was created. But this one, they did it better. They wanted Batman to be that guy just because he's so famous. But yes, I think I agree with that statement that keep Batman doing his thing. He's always there, but. We don't need 10 more times with him. I think he almost got a little oversaturated a little bit. So,
but if they could do what they did with Iron Man to Batman, though, would you be okay with that?
Well, they didn't have Iron Man in 10 movies leading up. They didn't have Iron Man in other movies until it was Civil War.
That's true, but
also, it's still the MCU wasn't even really Iron Man centric. He was centric in the sense of he kind of led the Avengers maybe even more than Captain America did. But the MCU as a whole did not feel centered around Iron Man.
I would agree. Yep, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then let's move it into number 8. Don't overexpand with dozens of characters. I think we're dealing
Marvel
with that right now.
notes.
Yeah,
Marvel take notes.
And I know what Marvel's doing. They just want all these characters for the Secret Wars. But there's just a lot of, there's not a lot of good, or at least there's a lot of characters coming, like America Ferrera. What the hell? Or is that her name? America, what's from?
Gonzalez?
Chavez.
Chavez? Oh.
Yeah. I don't understand her character at all. And it was definitely just thrown in, into that movie. It just seems like it's oversaturated with things. I think that, we don't need every DC, DC A, B, C, or sorry, D, E, F, all the way down to Z list character. I think if you stick to the characters that were in Justice, then that's fine with me.
So you want just to keep the 5 then? Like the Flash,
Batman, for sure.
Superman.
Oh, for sure. I think they all deserve their own story in a better way.
Yeah. Yep. Kind of like how
I feel like it's already safe to say he's kind of not going to go that route.
Yeah, I would say so.
Of everything he has announced so far, there's so many of these things that are like, who are they? Movies and shows. Like The Authority is basically like kind of its own.
But I don't think that's
Suicide Squad
overarching fact. I think that's just the that's a Superman storyline, isn't it?
No, this is its own thing. I pulled up like his full slate that he said. So Superman Legacy is its own movie, but then The Authority's coming out, and then I'm just gonna list these ones like that I think are gonna be like kind of wacky characters, or not wacky, but just like there's gonna be a lot, like The Authority, Swamp Thing, Creature Commandos, the Waller series, Paradise Lost, which takes place on Themyscira, like it's a pre-Wonder Woman show. Booster Gold.
Yep, that's
like all of these like are gonna be. There's gonna be so many more characters in them. But I'm not. Again, I'm also just not concerned because did you guys ever watch the Batman the Brave and the Bold animated series?
Yes, I did.
Did you watch any episodes of that? So that whole series, every episode, Batman's like teaming up with these other DC heroes and doing these things, and like a lot of them are like, who are they characters? Like, but at the same time, it's like they explain it really well. And no, they're not as important as Superman or the Green Lanterns or anyone, but they still are important to their own stories. And so I think James is going to do a fine job of. The characters will be oversaturated, but they won't be like.
That's kind of his thing.
Yeah, even all the side characters in Guardians, you really
That's
like.
True. I was just going to say that there are a lot of characters in Guardians.
I think he'll do fine with it.
Okay,
if he can juggle
on this one,
I think that's what like DC and
you've convinced me, Kenny.
Yeah, like outside of James Gunn's stuff, I do think that is true. Like the oversaturated characters, but then you like are left wondering like why are they important again? Mm-hmm. But and then in the story, James tells. I know James isn't writing and directing everything, but he's in charge of it all. Yep. So at the end of the day, like at the end of the movies, those whatever characters will still have an impact on the story, and whether or not they show up again doesn't matter because the one story that they're in. They will have like an impact on, I think.
Yeah, okay. I mean, God, Logan had a lot of the most random ass characters, but they created one of the best movies with it because it was a good storyline and good writing and good character.
Caliban, like who is he?
Who is Caliban?
He was so good in Logan. And Stephen Merchant, love Stephen Merchant. He's my favorite. He's top 5 favorite actors ever. So he played so sick.
He did such a good job, Boo. You haven't seen that movie, right, Boo?
I have, yeah. I watched it in theaters.
Yeah, right? God, it was so good.
Do you remember who Caliban is, Boo?
Yeah, the guy that can't see the sun.
Yeah, there you go.
Attaboy. Attaboy.
Nice.
See, dude, I think most random ass people wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
So, Boo, you're getting up there.
I'm a little bit higher than the average Joe.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you really are, man. You're above average, Joe, my friend.
Yeah.
Nice,
above average Boo is going to be my new name on here.
Yep.
Double A Boo.
Yeah. I think you've earned it at this point, man. Yeah. And then this last 2, I think 9, take advantage of the rich villains. There's a lot of them. I don't really know how to add to this one. I think we've talked about the villains enough. I think they're just make Lex Luthor. I think they're just trying to emphasize the idea of like Lex Luthor. I know. Can you think of other rich ones that just need more of a prominent role to help stop this? We don't need monsters. I think he's just trying to say like we don't need just monsters and gods at every stepping stone. But the last one I kind of agree with this, and again, bringing it back to Thor Ragnarok. Maybe not as much on some other movies like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness because that was definitely an adventure. But at the end of the day, it was a decent attempt at it, but I think the idea of remember to infuse adventure with the stories, and I completely agree with that. I think one thing that was very good. I think you look at Aquaman, that was definitely an adventure. It was I do look at Wonder Woman, definitely an adventure.
Wonder Woman 1.
I was gonna say
Wonder Woman 1. Wonder Woman 1 was an adventure.
Not 1984.
Wonder Woman 2 was nothing. It was nothing at all, period.
But yeah, I completely agree with it. Just add a little bit more fun to it. I think it really just trying to say is adventure meaning its own story. It doesn't have to be, there's just all these characters. The one thing that DC has for going for it is that it's got better storylines, it's got better villains, it's got better almost in every aspect of things compared to Marvel's comics. DC is the big brother. Now Marvel had a good job of having Disney behind them, really behind them, and having a clear vision. DCU unfortunately had what Zack Snyder's vision was. / he had created such a plan that I feel like it was hard to go against the grain with that one. But I just kind of agree with this. I mean, do you have any other good movies you guys can think of when it comes to kind of a story an adventure with things? I was trying to think of on the spot some good adventure ones.
Tron.
Well, yes, Tron's a very good one. Yes, that's it. Tron's in the movies we want to create a list of top 10 movies of most underrated good movies. I think Tron's an underrated good movie.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's one of my all-time favorite trailers. That trailer for it is phenomenal.
That's a Disney movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the Disney one.
I gotta watch. I'll add it to the list.
Yeah, man. You gotta add it to the list. So, all right. I think we finally went through this. I mean, what are your guys' final thoughts on just the DCU going forward? And what before we hand off this episode, we're at 51 damn minutes. Let's go, boys. I'm pumped. I love when an episode did not feel like 51 minutes there. So any thoughts on what we just went through there, guys?
I just think the biggest thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, move. You move.
I just think that they should have a clear plan, like Marvel's original plan. Have a 5-year plan where everything is cohesive. That's the biggest thing, is cohesion, I feel like.
But also at the same time, I think they can also have their own stories too.
Yeah.
I would also agree with that. I don't think there's a problem with that. But I think make it clear that this is its own story. And it's not, we're not going into 10 different movies thinking, oh, this is going to lead into what's happening in the rest of the phases. You know what I mean? It seemed like it was 3 movies in a row. We were kind of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was his own story, and it was one of the best stories out there.
Mm-hmm. And we knew that because that's the end of their story. So we were prepared that wasn't gonna be a part of the rest of the next phase.
And I think partially because of how great their storyline arc, their 3 movies were, it added to when they were part of the Infinity War. You know what I mean? They were part of it. They weren't creating. There was little things that were leading to that. But I think that they were one of my favorite parts of when you saw them and there you cheered, you know what I mean? And I'm sure Kenny cheered and yelled, so I agree, man. And sorry, Boo, did you want to say anything else before we pass off to Kenny?
Nope, that's all I had.
How about you, Kenny?
Like I said the whole time with every single point, I'm not worried, honestly. I think he's going to kill it. I love everything he does, even outside of Marvel or DC. Everything he has touched has just been amazing, I think.
Yeah, it's been gold.
All of those points, and he's only gotten better. I think if the entire Guardians trilogy if the new DCU is anything remotely close to the entire Guardians trilogy, it'll be okay, I think.
Hell, even if it's compared to Suicide Squad, that scene where Shark is looking out the window and seeing all the couples together, and he looks like he just puts his hand up. And he looks like he has a tear in his eye. It just kills me. That scene.
Oh, I missed that movie. I got to rewatch it.
I need to rewatch it too, man.
Is it good?
I also would like to say,
so good.
Gives James Gunn so much shit for casting his friends and everything. Who cares?
I agree.
Everything he does with his friends in it, they all kill those roles. They're amazing. And it doesn't matter if Nathan Fillion's going to play 3 different characters again. As long as they're each character he played was a one-off character. He can come. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
He picks his friends because his friends are good actors and directors and creatives, and any professional person does that.
Yeah,
it's not people
want to complain. Christopher McQuarrie uses Tom Cruise in almost every one of his movies. I mean, the
director knows what would be best in his product, and casting his friends over and over again. If he knows what's going to be best, then he knows. And look at his like history of all this stuff. You know, like he knows what he's doing.
He has a proven
so do his
track record.
friends. So I love
Right,
it. I hate that everyone complains about that because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad we had Kenny on for this
Yeah.
episode and not the movie or the fall TV slate preview.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at that list. It's going to be a hefty one. We did an Emmys list. About, oh my God. We only got through maybe 10 to 12 of the actual list. There's so many on there. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun little episode. I always love doing these kind of list episodes because we try to do news. With this writer's strike, man, it's been impossible. So we have to add a little more creativity, and I think we did a great job with today's episode. Kenny, hey, ladies and gentlemen out there who are listening today, we like to thank Kenny for joining the FEP universe, the Filmaholics Entertainment Podcast universe, part of the entourage now. We'd love to keep having you going forward. You can always join us whenever. We'd love to have you on next week too if you're available. But yeah, next week we got the TV film preview. I think we should do the review of Fast X for that thing for you, Boo, as well as hopefully do a review of Interstellar from Boo's. A little review, a late review with Boo. I feel like of movies that have been out for years. Maybe we do another episode of ChatGPT creating random ass movies together. We did that. We did Jaws Finding Nemo movie. That was really fun. And then also an Inception 2, which was really cool too. So hopefully there's a little bit more movie news too as well we can dive into. But I think, again, the universe is growing, the FEP Nation is growing, and we just appreciate everyone who's been listening around the world. So we're signing off. Great to have you guys as a part of this, and we'll see you guys next episode 10, the big two numbers, baby. Who'd have thunk? Keep checking out our 2 digits. Follow us on Instagram, and also check out our digital shorts or YouTube shorts we're adding. We're also trying to figure out other shit we're adding to like our Instagram page. So it's all going to keep getting better. We're getting 1% better each episode. So we'll see y'all later, and thanks for listening in. See ya. Peace.